What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the island, the place to where honest football discussion goes beyond the hot takes. I'm your host, David Kamen. Finally, faithful, some real football. The San Francisco 49ers opened up their preseason with a 19-13 loss at the hands of the Tennessee Titans. And honestly, this game doesn't matter whatsoever. It's preseason. So let's get it. The 49ers are 0-1, and it doesn't even count at all whatsoever. The score of the game doesn't matter. And what I want to establish right at the beginning, because I don't think we should get too high on a player that had a great preseason or too low on a player that struggled. It's just one game. It's the first one. This is evaluation football. Okay, so Kyle Shanahan has not opened up the entire playbook. Brock Purdy didn't play. Mac Jones didn't even play. A huge portion of this football team either didn't play or they're not healthy enough to play right now. Meanwhile, the Tennessee Titans allowed about 20 snaps for their starters. So I'm not interested in spending this episode talking about why the 49ers lost 19-13. What I do care about is who showed us something, who took advantage of their opportunity, who made me say, okay, all right, we might have something here. And then on the other side, unfortunately, who just was not it last night. So let's go ahead and start with the guy that stole the show, Zhaun Stribling. Folks, we may have something here. Zhaun Stribling was targeted 8 times. He ended up with 7 receptions for 63 yards, all in the first half. One of the best plays of the entire game was a beautiful 32-yard reception that he was able to use some great body control and catch the ball right on the sideline. It was beautiful. That's an 87.5% catch rate in your first NFL preseason game. And remember what we've been talking about for weeks now. This wide receiver room has absolutely been decimated by injuries. We've spent all this time wondering who's going to step up. Who is Brock Purdy going to throw the football to? What happens if Ricky Pearsall isn't available? Maybe we're beginning to get an answer to this, because Stribling didn't just catch 7 footballs. He looked comfortable doing it. He showed strong hands. He made catches with defenders around him. And I want you to think about this. The guy that is actually covering him wasn't just some scrub corner, third-string corner. This was Cordell Flott. Dude just signed a free agent deal for 3 years. Very competitive defensive back in the NFL. That's who he caught the ball on. Kyle Shanahan said after the game that Stribling had some struggles on the opening drive, but once he settled down, Kyle liked the way he executed, liked his hands, and liked his physicality. And that's what I want to hear, because he's a rookie. I don't need him to walk on the field, play one, being Jerry Rice, right? I want to see how he responds. You're nervous. You're excited. It's your first NFL game. You make a mistake. Okay, what happens next? And what happened next was 7 catches for 63 yards. And that's incredibly encouraging considering the Titans had their starters out there. They obviously knew that we were going to try to get the kid the ball some. And he was still able to do that. It was great. Remember what I said 5 minutes ago, though. I'm not going to get too high. I'm not going to get too low. Like I said, this is preseason. But I will say this, the opportunity is there, and right now he is taking advantage of it. Kurtis Rourke, man, the guy delivering that beautiful play to Zhaun Stribling was Kurtis Rourke. I thought he had himself a game. Rourke finished 12 of 14 passing for 101 yards. Let me say it again, 12 of 14, and one of those was a Zhaun Stribling drop. Okay, so that's an 85.7% completion rate. And this wasn't just 5-yard check downs against a bunch of guys who are going to be working at Walmart next week. Tennessee played their starters early. Rourke was opening behind the backup offensive line. He looked comfortable. He delivered that 32-yard pass, like I said earlier, to Stribling. He moved the offense. That's exactly what I wanted to see from him. Now, unfortunately, he ended up leaving the game with what was led to believe to be, or what was believed to be rather, a rib injury. He actually left, went to the hospital. Initial x-rays reportedly did not show a break. So obviously, first and foremost, I'm praying for healing for his body, man, that he can get out there again. In fact, I think this puts the 49ers in a very interesting position. Okay. Kurtis Rourke, man, is mobile. He's big. He has a strong arm. And this was really his first opportunity in some live game action to get this chance. And he took full advantage of it. In fact, he's playing against the Tennessee starters there for the most part. Man, what would he have looked like with a little bit more help? What would he have looked like with a starting offensive line? And now all of a sudden you have to have that third quarterback conversation becomes pretty interesting. Because if you're the Niners, you have Brock Purdy, you have Mac Jones. And if Rourke can continue developing behind those two, that's exactly how you want to build a quarterback room in the NFL. So offensively, does the 49ers have a situation where they have to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster? I don't think you're going to be able to let this guy go at this point. If this is his first game, my hopes, my prayers are that he's healthy enough to play some more, and we get an extra chance to see that this isn't just a one-game thing. Again, not too high, not too low, but he absolutely flashed. So is this a situation where he gets back out there, balls out again, and you're in a situation where come mid-season, letting Mac Jones go at the trade deadline might seem a little bit more easier now? As all offseason, the 49ers said for a while that they had no plans on trading Mac Jones. And understandably, right now, in my opinion, the 49ers have the best quarterback room in all of the NFL, and it's not close. And then you add this guy to the mix. If anybody watched the game last night, you would see that Kurtis Rourke was the better of the 2 starting quarterbacks last night. Again, not here to beat up or bash on the Tennessee Titans by any stretch, but in my opinion, he was the best quarterback on the field all night long, and really, it was not close. And this is a 7th-round guy, not a first-round pick like Cam Ward. So having this situation is not bad news. It's good news for the San Francisco 49ers. They may have something here. Now, you have to take the good and you have to take the bad. So this is about winners and losers from last night. Stribling, Rourke, no-brainer. Great games, great showings. Can't wait to see them on the field again. But then you have the not so good. And let's talk about that. The backup offensive line. Yikes. This was not pretty. This is where I think preseason football actually matters. I'm not worried about Trent Williams. I'm not worried about the starters. I'm not worried about Dominique Pooney. Man, I'm not even worried about Jake. But last night really showed me that the 49ers' depth at offensive line, especially at the tackle position, is something that we may have to worry about. Now, I'm not sitting here wondering whether the starting offensive line is going to understand the offense. What I'm watching in this game is depth, because we've talked about this in the last episode. Over a 17-game regular season, you're going to need some offensive line depth. You're going to need your 8th offensive lineman, your 7th offensive lineman. And after this game, I'm not feeling nearly as comfortable about that depth. And one player in particular that I was watching, Enrique Cruz Jr. Look, again, I don't want to say cut this man after one preseason game. Or again, I'm going to say it a million times. Not too high on guys, not too low on guys. But he was the 179th overall selection. He played tackle in college at both spots, 6'5", 300 pounds. There are physical tools there for sure. And that's why the Niners drafted him. But, man, he looked lost at times. And unfortunately, this is not coming completely out of nowhere. There have been plenty of reports coming out of training camp that Cruz was struggling with his hand placement and consistency winning his blocks. That's why preseason's so important for him. And you don't want to see those practice struggles translate into game time situations. But unfortunately, it did. Again, one preseason game in the books. But if we're having to do winners and losers, that man was a loser last night. And I think this might quietly be one of the biggest questions the 49ers have to answer before week 1. Do we actually have enough offensive line depth? If not, John Lynch needs to be watching those waiver wires and really getting some guys as these players start getting closer toward the cut down. Now, another area you just have to simply say is a losing area. I think you would have to say the running backs. Now, I want to be clear. We've got some guys that we've had to pick up off the street because all of our backs are injured right now. And if you watch the game and you watched it closely, a lot of these guys were getting hit right after they got the ball in their hands. Okay, so it's not a situation where I'm going to say that guys weren't running hard or in the right gap per se, but there was nothing to write home about from the running back position in last night's game at all. Again, a depth evaluation. This was guys trying to make a football team, and frankly, some of the backs that we watched Thursday night might not be on the 53-man roster when the season starts. And I get that's harsh, but that's just the reality. You've got really your top 4 backs, 3 of your top 4 backs being injured right now. You got James, Black, Garindo. These guys are injured, man, and these are guys that would be taking some reps right now. I was looking forward so much to seeing some of these guys get an opportunity to really not even run. I really wanted to see how they did catching the ball out of the backfield to try to spell some of those receptions away from Christian McCaffrey. My understanding is Christian McCaffrey's got a little tightness, but it's nothing at all to be concerned with whatsoever. I think it's one of those things that you're almost, in a way, glad that there is some tightness so you can say, hey, there's some tightness. The man's not touching the field in the preseason at all whatsoever. Full stop. Am I going to say there's no hope? We're stuck in the same situation that we were last year with yards per carry? You can't say that yet, guys. We had a lot of our starters were not even in there at all. Okay, so the part that I'm watching, because those guys may actually have to protect Brock Purdy at some point, the backup offensive line, and the depth of running back. Last night, there was just nothing to really write home about. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about defense. So, Jaden Duggar, man, wow. I believe there's something there. This dude is interesting. And I've really been intrigued with him throughout camp because he really doesn't fit into any one category or box. He's just one of those versatile Swiss Army knife type of players, man. He started his college career as a safety. He transitioned to linebacker, then to edge. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, ridiculous length. This man's wingspan is longer than my entire body. I'm 6'2". Reports are that this man has a 7-foot wingspan. Faithful, if you get an opportunity to get out a tape measure and look at how long 7 feet is, that is absolutely ridiculous. The 49ers have been moving him around too. They've had him at Will. They've had him at Mike. That hybrid kind of linebacker role, even some work on the defensive line. And against Tennessee, you could see flashes of why they like him. He was decisive. He showed athleticism. He came downhill. He tackled. He looked like somebody who belongs on an NFL football field, which in the example of Enrique Cruz Jr. did not look like he belonged on an NFL football field. Was he perfect? No. There was some good and some all right mixed in there. He's still learning. We're evaluating traits, and the traits are there. His final college season at Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, he had 125 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. He was a first-team All-Sun Belt player. So what we saw Thursday night wasn't completely unexpected at all. Obviously, the scouts, that's what they saw on tape too. The question has always been whether those traits translate to the NFL. And after preseason game number 1, I'm intrigued. I want to see more. I liked what I saw. Another guy, and if you just pull up Google and put in the search who shined on defense for the 49ers in week 1 of the preseason, you're going to pull up Gracen Halton. Is it safe to say, again, I'm trying to keep a medium temperature here. But man, you hear what he's been able to do. You hear the coaching staff just puff this man up. And then you see it last night with your own eyes. Gracen Halton really had me looking forward and sitting up in my chair. This dude was getting after people, and this wasn't the first time we've heard about it. Coming out of Oklahoma, Halton had 17.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks over his college career. In 2025 alone, he had 7 tackles for loss and 3.5 sacks. John Lynch talked specifically after their draft about how explosive Halton is off the football and how much time he spends in the opponent's backfield. Guys, obviously some of that showed last night against the Titans. And again, I need you to hear this. The Titans gave about 20 snaps to their starters, okay? You're showing flashes against legitimate NFL competition. The first step jumped off the page. The pass rush jumped out. The disruption jumped out to me. And considering some of the questions we've had about the defensive line depth, Alfred Collins last night, we're getting him in a second. I'm going to say this for the 100th time. Trying not to get too excited over preseason week 1. I'm not putting the man in Canton, but there's a difference between what we've heard about in camp and what he showed last night. That explosion that you hear about in camp translated last night. Winning one-on-one matchups translate. I'm excited about this kid. And if he has another game like this, how do you keep this guy out of the rotation? I understand you have a lot of depth there. I get it. But man, good players are good players. If the kids earn the opportunity to get some time in the rotation, put that guy in there and let the best man win. A lot of these guys that are on this team are solid pick guys, okay? Not Raheem Morris guys. Gracen Halton looks like he's a Raheem Morris guy. And let's go ahead and jump into Alfred Collins. I'm disappointed. I expected more because I'm high on Alfred Collins. And I'm not changing that because of one preseason game. The guy is 6'5", 332-pound defensive tackle who showed flashes last season. As a rookie, Collins had 17 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits, a sack, and 2 forced fumbles. Robert Saleh actually recently said himself that he is going to be special. That's how highly people inside this league think of him, which is exactly what I expected from him Thursday night. There were plays where he looked like he got turned around. There were moments where Tennessee was able to move him. And for a man that size, that's not what I want to see. Now, maybe I watched the all 22 and feel a bit differently, and maybe the assignment wasn't what it looked like on television. And that's always possible. By no stretch am I perfect. I'm not an X's and O's savant by any stretch. But just watching the game live last night, I came away disappointed. And here's the difference between Collins and somebody like Enrique Cruz Jr. I'm not questioning whether Alfred Collins belongs on the team. We know he does. I'm expecting him to take a jump this season. So my criticism comes from expectations. I don't need Alfred Collins simply occupying space and being a huge body at 332 pounds with his physical ability. I want him wrecking plays. I want running backs changing direction because he's standing there in the middle. I want guards needing help. I'm going to chalk this up to a bad game. It's preseason number 1. Now show me something different next week. Couple of things on my final take, and we'll wrap it up. It was a 19-13 loss. The score doesn't matter to me at all. The score really doesn't matter to anybody. The score could have been 0-0 for all I care. Man, the Niners were beat up a lot. I want to say this myself. I still remember waiting in anticipation the next day of the draft in round 2 after we made 2 back-to-back trades to get out of the first round and Zhaun Stribling's name was called, the first pick of the second round. And I'm not going to lie, I sat there a bit deflated. Now, I knew who this man was. I am a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. Trust me. Watch last year. I knew exactly who Zhaun Stribling was. Okay, he absolutely burnt my team all last season. Anyway, not going to get into that. Won't have to fool with that guy this year, thank goodness. But so I knew who the guy was. I had just gotten lulled to sleep with the big boards, right? The folks that get paid the big dollars to break this thing down. Now, after the draft, after the dust settles, you hear rumblings about, man, the Rams really like this guy, and other executives mentioning, man, that they were secretly watching Stribling to see where he would fall. But if you had to tell me right now what I think, man, what else could you ask for from the kid, man? 7 receptions, 63 yards in his first preseason action against NFL starters, all the nerves. And to me, and I mean this seriously, he had a lot of great plays last night. His hands and body control are great. There wasn't a lot of space and a lot of separation last night. I would have liked to have seen more of that. But think about when this man is with the starters, faithful. Think about when this man has a George Kittle, a Christian McCaffrey, a Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel. Him just being in the backfield every once in a while is going to make defenses hone in on that. You put this man at the big slot, and he's going to create lots of space. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. But going back to it, the thing that I enjoyed the most, my favorite part of his game last night, was after he caught that 32-yard reception on the sideline. He didn't get up, do a scuba dance. He didn't get up and taunt the corner. He didn't beat on his chest. He didn't signal the first down. He just walked back to the huddle. The kid acts like he's been there before. It seems like there's no ego. That to me is such a big deal. Characteristics like that, role model behaviors such as those, are why I feel, if you made me say it today, again, I said it, I wasn't going to get too high on the kid, man, but this is the type of pro that you want to give a second contract to. So my prayer, man, is that this kid continues to grow, continues to shine, stays healthy, and gets a good opportunity. I really want to see that. Kurtis Rourke, man, really did a great job. Again, praying that his health is okay, praying that he can make a swift recovery and a swift return. And I hope that the 49ers continue to have to deal with the tough decision of whether or not to keep 3 quarterbacks on this active roster. My opinion, after just one preseason game, yeah, you can't let that guy go. Keep that guy in your building, man. Keep that guy in your building. He doesn't look like a rookie. Let's put it that way. And I know this is technically his second year. He was redshirted from the injury. Man, played his senior year with a tore ACL. That's a grown man right there. There's some guys. Enrique, you got to be better. My man Alfred Collins, come on, man. Come on, man. Let's tighten this thing up. Let's have a better showing, a better performance than this week. But hey, tell me what you guys think in the chat. I want to hear from you. Are you as excited about Zhaun Stribling as I am? Did you see some other guys out there that showed flashes? I know my man Nick Martin had a lot of tackles, but I don't know. I just still feel like there's another gear and another place that my man Nick Martin can get to. Did you like what you saw from Ephesians Price Sock? Was there another player that you just wish would not have been on the field? Who do you think is not going to make this roster already after just one preseason game? As always, faithful, I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the show today, please remember to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new content. It really does help out the channel tremendously. As always, take care, be blessed, and go Niners.